All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen. And joining us today to preview this Rams-Steelers matchup this upcoming Sunday in Los Angeles is Adam Grego, Steelers fan of the Adam Steele YouTube channel and former Downtown Rams co-host, which those of you who saw our 500th episode and the video for Jake know, because he was in that video. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's good to be back creating some content.
Yes.
Pulled me out of my grave.
Well, I mean, anyone that's watching this and doesn't know who you are, like that name up top, first off, he came up with. So like it's only fair that it's above his face right now. But no, for real, Downtown Rams wouldn't exist without him. He's the one that got me out of rock bottom, and I owe a lot to him. But he's also, if this isn't just a feel good thing, you guys have seen him. Most of you guys have seen him if you've seen our draft coverage when we had our studio, when we did the AJ show. Furthermore, in addition to that, this isn't just a feel good thing. You know your shit when it comes to the Steelers. And I mean, if I'm going to ask anybody anything about the Steelers, I'm going to ask you. So I've been watching them quite a bit, but I'm excited to get your expertise because it's well respected, obviously, from here. We've had plenty of discussions, and I think you offer a ton to the show, especially with this Rams-Steelers matchup this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know what bases we want to cover first. How I feel about it emotionally this upcoming game, because I'm not gonna hold anything back. I'm very scared, very concerned about how the Steelers are gonna look against the Rams. Specifically, all I can think about is Aaron Donald coming up the middle against Mason Cole, who's our center, who's just been a nightmare, a train wreck this season. There's a lot of places we can go, so I'll let you drive us in the direction, but there's plenty of stuff to talk about.
Well, let's start it off. If you could give us kind of a brief recap of the Steelers season so far, because maybe a lot of our listeners haven't watched a lot of Steelers games, so they're not sure what we're going up against. How has the season been for the Steelers so far?
It's been up and down, to say the least. Pretty much every time they've won a game, they've lost a game. Really, there was a lot of excitement coming into the season just because Kenny Pickett, the Kenny Pickett hype was very real. Even it reached outside of Steelers like fandom at a certain point towards the end of the season. PFF was touting him as I think in the final 6 weeks, he was their second graded quarterback, like in the entire NFL, only behind Josh Allen. So finished out 7-2 with a record. Second highest graded quarterback. You go into the preseason, or really even before the preseason, you go into the draft, you get all these exciting pieces, right? You get his left tackle, Broderick Jones. You get Joey Porter Jr. to come in at cornerback. You get Darnell Washington, this giant tight end from Georgia. You get all these pieces that are just super exciting at positions that are very clear needs for the Steelers. And then you go into the preseason, Kenny Pickett has 5 touchdowns on 5 drives. And then on top of that, gets graded out as the top preseason quarterback by PFF. So he finishes the second graded quarterback by PFF the last 6 weeks of the regular season last year. You have that great draft, and then you go into the preseason. It continues. The success is there. He looks good, highest graded quarterback in the preseason. And then you come into it, and you lay an egg against the 49ers. And you're like, oh my God, okay, what's happening right now? And then you win a game, you drop a game. It's like you're winning one, you're dropping one, you're winning one, you're dropping one. All the while, the offense is, the best way to put it, simplest way to put it, it feels like a high school level offense. Matt Canada is now notorious. There's Fire Canada chants on all different sports stations. People are at college game day, you're hearing it in the background. We're at hockey games, you're hearing Fire Canada chants. So it's like the offensive coordinator is just a disaster at this point. That's someone that the Rams are going to really be able to take advantage of, I think, of just defensively. I'll tell you right now, what you see is what you get against the Steelers. So if you see a guy and he's running a slant route, it's going to be a slant route. If you see a guy and he's running a go route, it's going to be a go route. There's no double moves. There's no motions. There's no shifts. There's none of that. It's extremely vanilla, extremely predictable. And I think that's the crux of like what's really holding the Steelers back right now. And it's very concerning, and it should be very nice for the Rams at least to play on defense.
Yeah, that's definitely how I would put it, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I remember us with our AJ show, we talked about Matt Canada. There was definitely some optimism about him. I think you and I liked the idea of grabbing him, making him the OC. I don't know what happened. He's just so, to your point, vanilla, which makes a lot of sense for the preseason because everyone's vanilla in the preseason. So they're, you know, I don't think everyone realized though that they were going to run that preseason vanilla offense throughout the regular season. But you know, like looking at it, I feel kind of similarly like when I watched the Steelers this year. It reminds me of the pre-McVay Rams, and I don't mean that as any disrespect. I feel more so they have the talent all over the place. Like I think their offensive line is better than what we've seen. Whatever blocking scheme that they're in or whatever, because you said they changed their blocking scheme. It's why they trade away Kevin Dotson. We'll get into that part of our show down. We'll give that some time. But no, like I feel, and Alexis, maybe you can chime in here if you see the same, but you know, we watch the St. Louis Rams. Adam, you used to watch St. Louis Rams with me every week.
Yep.
I mean, don't they kind of give you that vibe where it's like, you know, there's some dogs on this team, but there's not really, you know, and we even see it on the defensive side because the offense is starting to affect the defense. And then it's like, all right, well, the defense is going to be on field the whole time. And I'm sitting here, they're 3-2. And there's so many things to complain about, but they're 3-2 because, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong here, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith have won them a couple games, in my opinion, based on what I've seen. It's been kind of disappointing because I'm very high on Kenny Pickett, as you know. But yeah, I think Matt Canada is the problem. And I'm going to say this. I will always defend Mike Tomlin. Everyone's been trying to say, oh, we'll fire him. You and I have agreed on this for years. I'm not saying fire him, but he's got to be less, I guess, what's the word? Loyal. And I know that sounds like bad, but the dude's so loyal, I think he just doesn't want to fire Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers are old school and old-fashioned and loyal, which is great, and it's worked for a really long time. But I was just saying this even at dinner, talking to my mom, who's a Steelers fan. It's gotten to a point where they're so stuck in their ways that the rest of the NFL has just passed them by. Like, you can't. The Rams are a prime example of, like, they take some risks and sometimes it doesn't work out. But who's won a Super Bowl more recently than like the Rams or the Steelers? I mean, it's not even close. It's the Rams. Who looks better right now? I would say it's the Rams. Who do I think can go further in the playoffs right now and are set up that way? I would say it's the Rams, and they've taken some risks. You know, they've traded first-round picks. They've brought on an older quarterback. They've fired people or hired people that don't have a big resume potentially. It's like, and all these things can be considered risks, but it's working, and it's where the NFL is clearly going. It's like the writing's on the wall, and the Steelers are definitely stuck in the mud, kind of like doing their thing the Steeler way, as they love to say. It's like the Steeler way doesn't really work anymore. You got to do something else.
So let's first talk about, I guess, the Steelers offense going against this Rams defense, because we just kind of talked about Matt Canada and kind of the staleness of the Pittsburgh offense and kind of your concerns there, I should say. So looking at, for Rams fans, what should this Rams defense do? And I'll ask Adam and I'll ask Jake this to follow up. What should this Rams defense do going against an offense that is struggling and pretty predictable? How should Rams capitalize to be successful at stopping the Steelers offense from putting points on the board?
So right off the bat, what you're going to want to do is stunts. The stunt game against the Steelers offensive line has absolutely destroyed them. Mason Cole cannot communicate well. I don't know if it's the guards he's having problems with, or if it's, I don't know what's going on there, but stunts, very specifically, like last year, they were okay. This year, it's been destroying them. So run stunts, and you have Aaron Donald who can do it. You can run a stunt on any gap on that defensive line, and he'll get there. Definitely run stunts. Run some nickel blitzes, specifically on the left side, I would say. Anything that can take advantage of Dan Moore on the left tackle position, because he's going to be back starting, which is a whole other can of worms, but he'll be looking like the starter. Take advantage of Dan Moore, get your best pass rushers over to the left side of that line. That's where you're going to be able to have a lot more success. And then, honestly, in the secondary, just don't let George Pickens get one-on-one opportunities. Because if Kenny Pickett sees George Pickens one-on-one, he's going to throw it up to him. It works more than it doesn't. It's usually a big play. You're going to want to just keep a safety over the top, or just double him in most situations that you can. And then on top of that, I mean, you guys have, I know who's the rookie that you guys have on the edge? Is he on the left or right? Byron Young?
Byron Young. They move him around. Okay. He's on the right, but they move him around.
Okay. Yeah. And is he a speed guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
He is. Just one rookie of the week.
Okay. Yeah. So Byron Young on the left side of that line, if you can get him over there, Dan Moore with speed, it's over. You're going to get by. You're going to get a win. You're going to win more than you lose against him. I would definitely take advantage of that opportunity as well with him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's funny, when I was talking, I think I was on the Renegade Roundtable, I've watched the Steelers, and I, for the life of me, can't understand why Broderick Jones isn't going to start. I mean, Dan Moore was kind of like a nice story last year, wasn't bad. When you already see Broderick Jones in there, you're like, okay, this guy's leaps and bounds. And he should be. Like, to be fair to Dan Moore, this is a first-round pick. Yep. I just don't know why they're babying him. I also don't know why they're babying another player who you drafted really high that we won't get into yet, because we're talking about your offense. But yeah, I guess my question for you, with Freiermuth out, which is really a shame. I'm a big fan of his game. Are we going to see Darnell Washington at all? Because I got to tell you, Adam, going back to the Eagles game, I know Dallas Goedert's Dallas Goedert, but he roasted the Rams. And the reason he was able to do that is because like Alexis and I are constantly talking about it. Michael Hoyt ends up like a fish out of water, in coverage. He's this 310-pound outside linebacker. I know, hard to believe. But so here's the thing that the Eagles did, is that they took advantage of that, and they got him one-on-one with Dallas Goedert. And it's like, man, Hoyt is a marvel. The dude is an elite athlete, but when you're playing outside linebacker at 6'4", 310 pounds, in coverage is going to be a problem. The problem is the Rams defense likes to have, disguises. The stunts are already right up their alley. They used a ton of them last week, and it's really been looking good for them. But as far as how the Rams like to do things, they've been dropping Hoyt, they've been dropping Young into coverage, and the reason being is then they bring in Ernest Jones, and before you know it, Ernest Jones is right in your quarterback's face. And so I feel like that's an opportunity here for a guy like maybe Darnell Washington to take advantage. Now, I don't know if he's going to be the guy they roll with, because I feel like they've kind of babied him a little bit. But what are your thoughts? Because I think losing Freiermuth is huge, but this is a team that's given up a lot of yards after the catch to tight ends.
That was a big reason that a lot of people were excited about Freiermuth coming back for this game, and now he re-aggravated that hamstring. So, I don't know when he's coming back at this point. And I would love to sit here and say that they're going to use Darnell Washington in that way. You would hope so. He ran, a 4.6, he's 6'8", 280 pounds. Like that, you would think they would do that. They'd get him down the seam. They'd get him just those easy, like those very basic big tight end routes. You'd think they would run with him, but he's really not out there running routes or catching passes. They're just not using him like that. They're really using him as basically like an extra offensive lineman. He's doing a lot of down blocking. He's attached to the left tackle or the right tackle and just really supporting the run game. So, I wish they would do that, and it would be a good opportunity. You're right, but I don't I seriously question if the Steelers even have plays in the playbook for him like that at all.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
You
We
know,
were so excited for him to go there.
so I wouldn't, Rams defensively, I really would not worry about Darnell Washington coming and being a mismatch opportunity there in the passing game. I just don't see it. They don't use them like that right now. It could start this week, but I don't know why it would. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was relieved when I saw that Freiermuth was not going to be playing. Although I do really like him. I have him on a couple of fantasy teams, so that also hurts. I'm a big fan of his. But yeah, I would say, maybe this is the week that the Steelers get Darnell Washington going. Maybe I trust what you're saying, though. Obviously, they probably won't. But if there's a team to do it against, the Rams really struggle against tight ends. But I am going back to the Pickens point from earlier. I think Pickens has a real opportunity because I think the Rams, other than Witherspoon, who is probably going to end up being on Pickens, but if he somehow is maybe on like a Durant or a Tomlinson or Kendrick, who we don't know is playing, I think it sounds like
he's
to me
going to.
Yeah. So if he gets an opportunity maybe to go against like Kendrick as opposed to Witherspoon, I would be nervous Pickens one-on-one with anybody other than Witherspoon, even against Witherspoon. I mean, I'm really high on Pickens as a receiver. So we'll see. I think the Rams defense has been surprisingly solid to people who aren't Rams fans. They bend, don't break. They do give up a lot of yards, but it is hard to score against them. So I feel good about our chances going against an offense that might be a little predictable, like the Steelers. Looking at the other side of the ball, the Steelers defensively against this Rams offense, as Jake and I know, and most people know, Kyren Williams is out, who has been our leading rusher. He leads the team in touchdowns. He had a really good game last week, put up 158 yards against the Arizona Cardinals. So we were very excited to think that Kyren could be running against the Steelers' run defense, which is not very good statistically. So even though that Kyron's out and we're not going to get to see him run against this defense, we have some other options. Jake, we have Darrell Henderson. This is his first game back with the Rams. We picked up Myles Gaskin. We have Royce Freeman, and we have rookie Zach Evans. So I'm going to ask Jake first, and then I also want to hear Adam's thoughts on this. But this Rams running group, like the 4 running backs that we have right now, going against this Steelers run defense, do you think that they have success against? Do you think McVay, this is probably how I should phrase it, do you think McVay decides to run the ball? Because he's very hit or miss with that. He doesn't like to do it. Then you'll see some games where he does it maybe in the second half, like we saw with the Cardinals. He didn't run it in the first half at all. Then you come out, let Kyren run it. He puts up 150 plus yards in the second half. So is this a game, Jake, where we see these new faces get very involved in the run game?
I think so. I think you'll see quite a few. I think you're going to see like probably 12 to 16 carries from Darrell Henderson. He's been active in practice. That's all I can say. But he definitely is somebody that they're very excited about. Just the verbiage, picking that up immediately. They changed their blocking scheme. They're not really, a zone running team. They're more of a gap running team. And honestly, I think that helps Darrell coming from, Memphis, where they were predominantly a gap run scheme. That's where, he came onto the scene and then, got into zone. I think when you have that versatility, the thing about Henderson is he's going to allow you to run your offense how you would if Kyren was there. He does everything Kyren does. And I think they're really excited about him in the passing game, which I think was an emphasis this week because they went out and got Gaskin. But we actually found out Ian Rappaport came out and reported that the Rams tried to get Ty Johnson from the Bills practice squad, who has familiarity with the OC, Mike LaFleur, with the Jets. And so they ended up adding him to the 53-man roster because Damian Harris goes on IR. And so they're like, all right, let's pivot. Let's go with more familiarity and a pass catcher in Myles Gaskin. And we know what he can do in the receiving game. So then you look at Royce Freeman. Then you look at the rookie 6th rounder, Zach Evans. Evans can't stay on the field all 3 downs. He is not good in pass protection. So that leads him to be either an early down runner or not having much of a role at all because he's limited in the receiving game. Then you have Royce Freeman, who's just a limited running back in general, hasn't had a lot of success in this league as far as yards per carry average. He's kind of underwhelming, but he's more that short yardage guy, special teamer. He's solid in pass pro. And so I think you'll see potentially all 4. I think you're likely to see Gaskin take a week off. They've been really going at it slow with him. But I think in this one, if we see Henderson, there's a chance that he could pop off in this game. I really believe that. I know it sounds crazy. Dude hasn't played at all this year, hasn't played in a year. They're very excited about the way he picked up the offense quickly. Like I said, he's getting a lot of run in practice. That's all I'm going to say. But he's getting a lot of run. And the thing is, the Rams want to be able to run their offense like they would if Kyron was there. The whole point of it is we don't want to change anything. We don't want to have to change anything. You will have to change some things because Kyron has way too much of a hold of this offense right now. And he's in such a rhythm that you're not going to expect to get a 158-yard performance. But if you can keep things somewhat the same, where the looks are the same, and you don't have to just completely check out of your usual sets and formations and things like that, then you're going to be golden. I think the best opportunity for that is Darrell Henderson, who can play all 3 downs. So I think they'll be able to run against a team that's given up the 29th most yards per game. The thing that's unfortunate is, Adam, this defense has talent. I don't know why they're giving up the 29th most points per yards per game. So,
I mean,
I feel for you.
Yeah, I think the easiest answer for that is the offense can't stay on the field and the defense gets tired. I mean, that's all it is, because these games that they've gotten absolutely blown out in, and those numbers have been put up on them, it's after like the second quarter of like the defense just like, oh my God, we're back out here. It's like they're like, you lose that morale, you lose that energy, actually, like, just you're exhausted, you're getting pounded on, you're back out there after the offense goes 3 and out again. I think it's more so the defense is just tired more than they're incapable. There are some concerns, like, and I would love to hear like what the Rams passing attack style has been. Has it been, are they really focused on beating zone coverages? What kind of route concepts are they calling? Are they more like trying to win man-to-man, one-on-one matchups? I'd like to get into that and kind of understand what they're doing there. But I do think zone defense specifically has been a weakness for this secondary. I think it's a new secondary. There's a lot of new people communicating, new pieces moving around, and they are not doing a very good job at closing those throwing windows, getting the proper depth, and communicating appropriately, in my opinion, when I watch the tape. So, but I would love to hear what is the Rams passing attack looking like right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, Cooper Kupp is the offense right now, which is crazy because Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell looked awesome to start the season. But I mean, you can't, when you have a really good rapport with somebody, it's hard to start, interacting with somebody else. And I think that's the thing with Stafford, is that he's still throwing in Nacua. He's still giving Atwell a shot. But I mean, Cooper Kupp's the best receiver in the league when he's healthy. And he gets up out of bed and has a 100-yard game. It's like he makes it as easy looking as can be. And so what I think has happened is really they've just allowed Cooper Kupp to really dictate the offense, because it's more of a wait and see approach. Teams that they want to try to bracket him, or they want to try to double him, or do anything to take him out of the game, that's when you could start going to Nacua. That's when you can start, going to Atwell and Higbee and so forth. I also feel like in Alexis, I'm pretty sure you agree, because we've talked about this. I don't feel like the offense is quite where it could be. I don't think it's where it's going to be, which is part of the main issue, I think, in the frustration with Kyron going down, because you have this offensive line. We talk about it all the time, Adam. You got to have 5 offensive linemen. They gel together the more and more they play. You can't just keep swapping them in and out. We saw that last year at the Rams. It doesn't work. So they finally have a starting 5 that for the most part was supposed to be their starting 5 coming into the season. They got Kevin Dotson, late right before the season, but it was pretty much kind of a foregone conclusion. He was going to work his way into the lineup. Mm-hmm. And that has started to work well. You see in the run game, they're carving out, some big holes last week. But then even in the passing game, what I'm most concerned with, though, is that, and this has to be said, the Steelers fans travel well no matter who the other team is. Mm-hmm. And when you have a team like the Rams who play in Los Angeles, I mean, think about it, Adam. If you could circle anywhere on the calendar, you could go to one game. Aren't you going to want to go to SoFi Stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So,
the stadium's amazing. Yeah.
So there's a lot of Steelers fans that, besides the fact that the ones that already travel well, mm-hmm. now you have the ones that are like, oh, well, I can only go to one game. I'm going to go to SoFi. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be probably 70-30, I'd imagine. Steelers fans will say 60-40 to not piss off the Rams fans. But let's be honest here. It's going to be mainly Steelers fans there. They travel really well. And so the key, I think, in this one is to limit the explosives on both sides of the ball, obviously, for both teams. But I think the Rams are really, they're potentially in a situation here where you either have to go all out, you have to test down the field, you have to try to go for the jugular, or you have to take this thing and make it really conservative because you got to keep the fans out of it. What we found is that Eagles game was a perfect example. They were going back and forth in the first half, and then the second half, the unfortunate reality was the Eagles got a big splash play to start it off. Jalen Carter, who's been a monster, by the way, sacked Stafford, and the Eagles crowd goes insane. Not to mention they scored right before the second half. So there was already momentum going that way. And I think at that point, you have the silent count, Kevin Dotson using his arm to basically signal the silent count. You had these guys just beating the snap. And the thing is, that was Jalen Carter who was taking advantage of that. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. That's why Rams fans, anyone you talk to, they're not just like, oh, we got the Steelers. We don't the Steelers are, first off, they're 3-2. But second, this is a team where you have to be cognizant of the fact that they have 2 weapons on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm not even talking about Minka, because before Stafford throws the ball, if you have a TJ Watt or you have an Alex Highsmith, rip the ball out, I mean, that's as good as anything. Now, all of a sudden, the game flips on its head. And I mean, that's the problem, is there's no really, I guess maybe I see it a little bit differently than you do, because they're like, I'm worried about this game. I see this as this could be an ugly game that the Steelers could win at the end on a big splash play like that. And so there's no easy way to go about it in this game. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how they come out. But when you have a quarterback like Stafford, the way he's playing, Adam, I don't know if you've seen him a lot, but he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in football. The stats are lying on him there. But Nakua, Atwell, Kupp, they've all had their moments this year. We'll see what happens. I don't think there's a tried and true thing. I don't think you can come in here and predict this is 100%. I believe in this, except for maybe Kupp going over 100 yards, because I think he's just going to find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been watching Stafford this year, and the stats are definitely not matching up with the tape. I mean, you put the tape on and he looks like he's always looked. I mean, his arm is as strong as ever. He can throw it from any arm angle. It has plenty of zip. It looks great. He's doing crazy things out there. He's accurate. He'll have his errant interception here and there, but I mean, if he's dicing you up and making Patrick Mahomes types throws in between that, it's all right, he's still a baller. He's a baller. He can make crazy throws and crazy plays, and that's definitely concerning. In Cooper Kupp, he's been back how many games now? 1? Is it 1 game you've had him?
He's been back for 2.
2.
So
okay.
Back-to-back games, he's gone over 100.
Yeah, and Cooper Kupp is just a whole different beast. It's a whole different concern. And then you throw Tutu Atwell in there, who I'm a big fan of. I don't care how small he is. The guy's freaking lightning quick, and that's always going to allow you to play offense differently. than when you don't have a guy like that. Like, he opens up the playbook in ways that people with that don't have that type of speed just can't do. So he's scary just because of that threat of that speed. And then Puka, I mean, he came out of nowhere, and he could be your number one receiver this year. You know, if there was no Cooper Kupp, he could be your number one guy easily. And so it's concerning. It's concerning because I think Sean McVay has a passing attack that makes opportunities for their players, but then on top of that, your players make opportunities for themselves because they're just good. So it's concerning in that way, for sure.
A lot of options too. Think about that. So like, you'll just be like, all right, Coop, like, you're going to run whatever the hell you want to run here when you see this, you know, structure. And then all of a sudden, you know, he and Stafford are always on the same page for the most part. And it's like, you just know he's going to be there. It's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, I can see Puka and Cooper Kupp combining to just obliterate the Steelers' zone defense. Like, I just see them finding all the windows, settling in the right spaces, and just dicing them up and just chewing up that zone defense over and over and over again. That's personally my biggest concern with this game.
Yeah, I do expect the Rams to be very active in the passing game. A lot of that, I think, is because without Kyren, so our run game this season has been Kyren, right? It's that we haven't had any other running back. Ronnie Rivers has done a pretty decent job, but he's not used that much. I mean, Kyren is the Rams running game. So now that he's out, even though we do have these guys that we just picked up, I do think Henderson is going to get, you know, a few looks. I don't really think they're going to use the other running backs that much. And I don't really think this first game without Kyren, they're going to run the ball the way they probably should. I think we're going to see a game that is very limited in the run game. And because, you know, I think that Kupp and Nakua and Atwell can feast on this Pittsburgh secondary, I think the Rams are aware of that. And that's going to be their game plan. Is I think they're just going to attack the Steelers mostly by air, not force the new running backs to have too much of a workload this week. And I think we could see Kupp go over 100 yards again. But this is the point where Jake and I, every episode, give 3 predictions. So we kind of naturally worked into that. We mentioned some when we were talking about this Rams offense. And we'll let Adam go first because he's the guest. But these predictions are kind of just fun stat predictions we like to throw out. So like Aaron Donald, 2 sacks, Cooper Kupp over 100 yards, anything that you think will happen in this game. So that way we can have bragging rights if we get any right after the game is over.
You can pick Steelers for the record.
Yes, you can pick Steelers because you're the Steelers guy. So you can go Steelers if you want.
Well, I'm gonna start with Donald. He's got ties to Pitt, so you know it kind of
True.
works. Nice. I think Donald's definitely gonna have. I'm gonna say 2 sacks, and I think one of them is definitely coming on a stunt. I think he's gonna blow through a stunt. They're not going to communicate, and he's just going to have a clear shot at Kenny, and it's going to be terrifying. And I'm going to call 2 sacks at least for Donald, especially if they do everything I talked about earlier with taking advantage of the left side of that line and doing all the stunt work. But I'll say that for the Rams. I think Minka needs to make some type of big play. He hasn't really done that, and I think the Rams will hopefully try to put him back to free safety. He's been playing a lot of slot. So I'm going to predict a Minka big play, not necessarily an interception, but something that's game-changing in the passing game, just downfield, just trying to get a spark, put him at free safety, let him roam. I think he can do that. And then lastly, for fun, let's say that Darnell Washington actually gets put on a seam route and catches like a 20-yard ball downfield. Just say it happens.
might be 40 yards the way some of these guys tackle. So, you know, I mean, I don't mean to throw shade entirely at the offense, but it's been rough, man. There's been a lot of missed tackles. And the thing that's frustrating is this defense has played so damn well, aside from that, you know, those missed tackles. But it is infuriating. You get a third and Alexis, what was it? 3rd and 24 last week for Dobbs.
Yeah. It was not good.
Josh Dobbs
It was multiple people that literally had a chance to bring him down. It wasn't just one missed tackle. It was like several.
Good Lord.
The rocket
Anyway.
scientist, man. He outsmarted you.
I know, man. I give him a lot of credit. He's battling every week. Yeah,
Good
he's easy to like.
Yeah.
But good Lord. Alexis, are you going or should I go?
I was going to let you go.
Okay.
I mean, I can go. It doesn't matter.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to say O'Shawn Mathis. It's going to be this week. I keep predicting it. He's going to get a sack this week. He's going to get his first career sack. It's going to happen. I'm going to predict it every week until he gets it.
What position does he play?
Outside linebacker.
What side, left, right, or all over?
He's a situational guy, so he's all over. Yeah, like they stun him and stuff like that. So I think he's going to get a sack in this one. It'll be his first career. He's had 2 pressures. Guy didn't play any preseason, did not play any training camp. He just basically had some rookie mini camp, was working, hard to try to beat out Byron Young, and he got hurt. And he's a 6th rounder out of Nebraska, whose tape at TCU made you think he could be a top 3 round pick. And his tape at Nebraska made you wonder why he was drafted. So I think seeing him get 2 pressures in his first back-to-back games, mind you, his first game, Adam, was against the Eagles. I think that's definitely some good stuff there. His snaps are starting to go up. I think he gets to Kenny in this one. I'm going to say he gets his first career sack. I'm going to say that Darrell Henderson finds the end zone. He's the first touchdown in this game. So that's right. Place your bets. First touchdown score. I already have. So Darrell Henderson finds the end zone. Jake rejoices because, as you know, I've been a big fan of Darrell, but I think he's going to because, the analyst in me, I think it's 27 or 28. I think it's 27. 27 red zone carries this year. Kyron has 24 for 6 touchdowns. So they've run the ball 27 times in the red zone. Darrell Henderson, here's a stat for you, has had 43 carries within the 10-yard line. He's punched in 12 of them. So I think that's decent, I think he's going to, get a touchdown this one. I think he's going to have a solid game. He's going to definitely, I think if he gets a fair workload, he's going definitely over 50 yards rushing. I don't know what his workload's going to be. I just think that he's going to, dominate this backfield. I think he'll get the majority of the carries. And then the last thing here is my guy, Kello Witherspoon, is going to get a revenge interception here. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
It would be poetry in motion.
It's going to come. Kenny Pickett's going to throw a deep ball to George Pickens.
Oh, come on.
And Akelo's going to be playing the trail, and he's going to go up and pluck it out of the air with his 6'4" ridiculous frame. I just watched the tape against the Cardinals, and I marvel at the fact this guy figured it out because he, coming out of Colorado, that size, like he grew, by the way. It still says 6'2". Like I talked to his dad, and his dad told me, no, he's 6'4" now. So he's grown. And it makes it incredibly difficult to throw over him because he's got that long, those long arms and everything, like vines.
He runs a 4.4. I mean, he's an athlete. He's all around an athlete. Yeah.
So I think I'll stick with that. I'll go with the interception, O'Shawn Mathis sack, Alexis, and then Darrell Henderson not only finds the end zone, but he finds it before anyone else does on Sunday.
Well, you stole one of mine because I also, one of mine is Witherspoon interception. It just feels poetic. It feels right. I won't go so far.
Yeah, you could say something about Dotson. Like he bulldozes Keanu Benton for a touchdown. There you
go. The Witherspoon interception just feels like too perfect for this game. He
dropped one
right.
last week too.
He feels due for an interception this game. So that's my first one. My second prediction is Cooper Kupp goes over 100 yards receiving again. 3rd game in a row. I think he's going to do it, especially like I mentioned earlier. I think the Rams are going to be kind of pass heavy. So I think that he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he's going to have success. So Cooper Kupp over 100 yards. My last one, I also bet Darrell Henderson first touchdown of the game, but I'm not going to pick that because you already used that as a prediction. So let's say like, I think Puka Nacua is going to get a touchdown because he should have more already this season. It's like his stats and his touchdown ratio don't really add up. So I feel like he needs to start putting some more touchdowns on the board. Not that he shouldn't already have them, but it feels like a good game this past game. So when Puka Nacua touchdown, Cooper Kupp over 100 plus yards, and Ahkello Witherspoon interception.
I'm going to say a bonus one for the Steelers. Because I like the Steelers faithful. They're great fan base. I'm going to give them something here. Allen Robinson is going to get an FU touchdown in this one. I already know it. It's going to happen. This guy had a really good performance week 1 against the 49ers, had over 60 yards receiving on 5 catches. He hasn't really been used. He hasn't really gotten, so I think this will be a game. You just throw an end zone fade up there. He's unfortunately going to body Darion Kendrick, who I am rooting for in this game. I'd like to see him prove the haters wrong, and he's played well. But Adam, if you haven't been following, there's a lot of stuff going on with him. So
yeah, I saw that. Right,
penalties, penalties, arrest. I mean, there's So I mean,
is he playing? Do we know?
I think he's going to play. Sean McVay made it clear. At the end of the day, I didn't know this, but the NFL takes this really slowly. Like when it comes to these legal things, as long as it's not like a domestic violence or something like that, because you can't have him play the next game after something like that. But since this is just a gun possession thing, they're going to wait. They're going to do all of their due diligence, but they're not going to go ahead and suspend him until probably after this game. So, but yeah, I feel for him. I think it's a crappy situation, but he has a chance. He could turn it around. It's good that he's playing this week. He's not going to lose his job. But yeah, I do think that Allen Robinson is going to posterize him in this one. Because, I mean, he's at SoFi and he signed a 3-year deal. He was so happy to come to LA, and then they traded him away for the stapler that's on my desk over there. So, it's, come on.
I mean, if you guys get poetry, we need some poetry. So
you gotta spread the wealth evenly. Plus, there's a lot of respect here between the two of us. I mean, besides the fact you're my cousin, I also respect the Steelers just in general. So got to give them something, I'll
take it. Yeah. I mean, just the one thing that's been crazy to watch. I mean, great for you guys. And there is some level of pride that I have for them is just the way that Ahkello and Dotson have been playing for the Rams. It's like, of course, like they have better coaching now, and it's, we trade them away for nothing or cut them, whatever it is. And now they're, Dotson's highest, it might be the highest graded guard.
Yes.
It's crazy. Like, and I guess I get it. Cause like when I saw him with the Steelers, the traits are all there. And I think one of the primary things that has happened since he's gone to the Rams is he just plays football now. Like I put on the tape just to watch him and be like, what is he doing? Like, where's this emergence or consistency rather coming from? And he's just bullying people. He's just a big, strong, athletic guy. And he's just going out there and just being a big, strong, athletic guy, and it's working. Ahkello, I mean, we always knew Ahkello had this level of talent in him. We saw it even with the Steelers. He played like this and then he didn't. But he's been putting back-to-back games together like this, and he's playing great. He's playing phenomenal,
You saw the what was it, the list of receivers and what they did?
Yeah.
That I tweeted out. It's like it's insane. I mean, I thought the one that really stood out to me was last week against Marquise Brown. I don't think people understand how hard it is to defend him because he can stop on a dime. He can beat you over the top. He ran a 4.2. I mean, this guy's he's a freakish athlete. And Ahkello got burned, but in reality, what it was is that there was a miscommunication with the safety. He was supposed to have safety help, didn't have safety help. Ahkello bats it down. He somehow catches up to him, bats it down, And then he's upset in the end zone. He's like this. And we're like, why are you doing that? And you see the tape and it's like, he's upset because he's playing it from the trail thinking he's going to have help over the top. And he's like, all he's thinking about, man, I could have had an interception. Like that's been the demeanor with him. He's been just trying to lead this back end of the secondary because everyone and their mother thought this team was going to be bad this year. Except for obviously, a few of us, including myself and Alexis. I think you also thought they were going to be pretty good. I had them at 10-7, but everyone thought the defense was going to be really bad. And I kept saying, we don't know. Unproven doesn't mean bad. And I'll tell you right now, you have Raheem Morris, who's one of the best defensive coordinators in all of football. People just don't realize it. Hopefully now they're starting to get the picture because of what he's able to do with these guys, stretching every inch of talent out of them. And you see Akello, and I'm going to be honest with you, Adam, he's the best corner right now in 2023 that I've seen.
Really?
He's playing on another level. I mean,
he does have, it's what, like is it the lowest passer rating right now, or is that still?
Oh, I got it all here for you.
Yeah. Pull that up.
First, so this is how I like to do it. 42 corners in the league have 200 plus coverage snaps to this point. Yep. So just the 42.
Yep.
If you filter those out, he's first in fewest receptions allowed, 11 on 28 targets. He's first in reception percentage, 39.3. He's fifth in yards allowed, which is 147. First in yak allowed, which is 32. He's second in average depth of target with 16.8. So these aren't just like gimmies. Right. It's not like just to the flat. He's tied for second in interceptions with 2. He's dropped, I think, 2 now. He's second in passer rating targeted, 38.3. He's second in snaps per reception allowed, 19.2. By the way, first is Darion Kendrick. Don't let the Rams fans hear about that.
Oh, nice.
PFF ranks him as a top 15 run defender at cornerback.
Which is impressive because that was one of the big things with him was he can't tackle.
He's been great, and he's only allowed 2 receptions in man coverage this year, 0 touchdowns. He's got a 26 passer rating when targeted in man. Joe Burrow, when he was facing him, everyone says, oh, Joe Burrow was hurt. I don't care. Joe Burrow had a 3 passer rating when targeting Akello Witherspoon. 3. Oh, well, and I like the Bengals fans. I told you this. I get along with Bengals fans. I heard way too much Jamar Chase roasted Akello Witherspoon. He had 2 catches for 16 yards on 3 targets. That's not roasting. Yeah, it's not roasting at all. So he can play zone. He can play man. What they're doing a lot, Adam, I'm sure you've seen it a ton, just the way the league is going now. There's a lot of match zone. There's a lot of aggressive zones where, you get out there and it becomes basically a man-to-man, type of thing. And since the league is turning into that, it's kind of harder to really evaluate the whole man-to-man thing now because that's the way it is. But yeah, no, he's been unbelievable. He's been a leader. And to lose a guy like Jalen Ramsey and then to get Akello Witherspoon on June 29th and have him be, dare I say, better in some cases, not what we were expecting.
Well, he's a number one. I mean, he's playing like a top number 1 cornerback, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
The way
I was high on it, as you know. I was very high on the move. I just didn't expect him to be the best corner in football.
Right. So it's been ridiculous to watch, honestly. So congrats. Congrats on that. Enjoy.
Yeah. Hey, at least it's not like the Ravens or the Bengals, the Browns.
That'd be a tougher pill to swallow. Yeah.
That's true. Imagine playing them twice a year.
Oh, God.
Well, this might also be painful for you, Adam, but we're going to do score predictions.
Oh boy. Okay.
So I'll go first. I won't make you go first on this, but this is we'll give our score predictions again. This is just for bragging rights. Also, realistic, but also to see who's closest after the game. So my score prediction for this game is actually 24-13 Rams, which might be closer than some people think is going to be. The reason I think it's going to be 24-13 Rams is I think without the run game, these are mostly going to be passing touchdowns, although I think one is going to be Darrell Henderson touchdown, as I talked about earlier. But I do think the Steelers are going to at least be able to kind of, with this Rams defense, you can kind of get down the field and into field goal range. So it's not unreasonable to suspect that you can get 2 or 3 field goals and a touchdown if you're the Steelers. But I do think the Rams are going to win, and I will not be surprised if they get more than 24 points. I'm being conservative. So, Jake, I'll let you go.
Yeah, we're thinking different on this one. So I'm going to take you through I have a script. I have an idea of how the game's going to go. Yeah, hear me out.
Here we go.
Steelers are going to kick a field goal, start it off. They're up 3-0. Rams match him 3-3. Henderson gets that first touchdown, 10-3. Then Warren gets a touchdown, 10-10. Then Kupp gets a touchdown, 17-10. Steelers kick a field goal, 17-13. Rams kick a field goal, 20-13. George Pickens ties it up late in the game, 20-20. And then Brett Maher kicks a game-winning field goal, 23-20.
That's how I see it. That's a fun script, man. I'll take that all day.
That's going to be horrifying on Sunday if that's what ends up happening.
I mean, I'd cry at the end of it.
Yeah.
It was so close. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of, like, I love my team like every fan does. I just don't have a lot of faith in them right now, just with the coaching decisions, with putting Dan Moore back out there when you had Broderick Jones playing great, refusing to play JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., when he's been a guy who's also been playing like an elite number 1 quarterback when he has the opportunities. Matt Canada, obviously. These things, they just pile on and they make it really hard to feel good about your team. Like being able to step up to the plate against a tough team like the Rams, away. So I agree. I think Alexis was on the right track with the Steelers score. I think they can maybe squeak out a touchdown somehow and then maybe 2 field goals. So that would put them right around 13. And then I think the Rams, I'll say, I don't want to get too ahead of myself and call it a blowout. So I'll put them at like 23-13.
So they average 23 a game. So, yeah. I mean, maybe 23-13 is what it is. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I respect the idea of like somehow they're going to figure it out.
I mean, that's only 1 touchdown or 1 explosive play, right? Like,
yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, it's not too crazy or far off either direction. I'm just on the side of I have just not seen enough from the offense to think they're going to score 2 touchdowns, like, which is crazy. Like, that's so sad, but that's the state that we're in right now until Matt Canada specifically shows something more. It's, a touchdown.
I mean, really, they just got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, this has to be the game where it's like, come on, we are 3-2. We shouldn't be 3-2, but we are. We owe the defense something. And I agree with you. It's tough. I mean, they got a lot of talent and they're set up better than some teams. I mean, they got a really young quarterback that has a lot of potential, but a guy that already has that it factor, because we saw that Raiders game. And that's when I texted you the next morning. I was like, I saw it, man. I saw it with him. He can win any game because at the end of the game, he is just clutch as hell. He's locked in. And I just realized there is a consistency or continuity error, whatever you want to say. I said Warren touchdown, but I predicted Allen Robinson to score an FU touchdown. I'll go with Robinson over Warren. This was made beforehand.
Warren gets into the 1, and then Allen just does a little post route and back.
Exactly. So have to have consistency there. But I got 23-20. The Rams average 23 points a game. I don't think they're going to figure this offense out quite yet. I don't think they're going to do it without Kyron. I think they'll still have flashes with Darryl. I think, he's going to be a piece moving forward that will bleed into when Kyron comes back, and then you have Kyron and Darryl. But I don't think this offense is going to be better without Kyron Williams. And I think it would be irresponsible for anyone to assume all of a sudden this offense takes another level after their 158-yard running back last week goes down with an injury. I just think it's irresponsible to think that way. Now, is this offense capable, like in the passing attack? Sure. But I just think what Kyron did last week and what he's continued to do when he's given the opportunities, that's not just like system. Like he's clearly a top 10 running back. Alexis and I have talked about this. And I mean, yeah, I'm not going to go down the stats like I did with Akello and waste your time, but he's top 10 in everything. So, you know, I don't feel like it's going to be like that, but I think this is a game where you just win it, man. You get this game done. This is a game where, again, like the Steelers, one big play. We're talking about this, like my prediction, 20-20. I mean, think about it. Rams game-winning touchdown or game-winning field goal like I had. That could falter down the stretch, and all of a sudden you have TJ Watt forcing a fumble. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who, oh my God, no Rams fan wants to see Minkah Fitzpatrick going down to the end zone like the last time the Rams played the Steelers with Goff.
Yeah.
So no one wants to see that. Well, the Steelers do, but no Rams fan wants to see that. But I mean, that's kind of why I'm so against the idea of this being a blowout, because I think the Steelers have equalizers. In Stafford, it is worth mentioning, Stafford has taken more sacks lately instead of throwing it up there, because I think there's been an internal discussion with him, like, just play more like clean football. Don't risk it. We know you can do it. We know you can hit those throws, but there's been a few times, Adam, where I'm watching the tape and I'm like, that wasn't like Stafford. He took the sack there. He threw that away when he had a guy that he would have normally thrown in between two defenders.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to play, you know, more conservative football while still being aggressive, but being like a controlled aggression there. And I think it's why, you know, they're able to be in this position right now, despite not having Cooper Kupp for the first 4 games. And despite having just, it seems like injury after injury with this team. No matter what year we're talking about, there's always somebody hurt and they just figure it out.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would add on to that is going back to the equalizer comment. Certainly, if the Steelers were to remain competitive in this, it would be a defensive touchdown. It would be a Alex Highsmith strip sack or TJ Watt or something with Minkah. Those things could potentially keep them in it long enough to make something happen at the end. That's the one thing I would look out for. If there's nothing like that, if you don't get a big defensive like turnover or, you know, touchdown, the Rams have this in the bag. I can almost guarantee it. And then on top of that, you're saying that Stafford is not playing as aggressive. That definitely plays into the, you know, the Rams' hands a lot better, because the 2 games that the Steelers have gotten absolutely destroyed in was quarterbacks playing very conservative and just not giving the defense the opportunity to make those big plays. So if Stafford is pulling it back a little bit more, taking his shots when he wants to, but being more conservative, that's a plus, in my opinion, for the Rams.
And that is what Jake and I both hope that he continues to do.
Yes.
Because as we touched on, I think that this Steelers defense has a lot of good playmakers. And as much as we would hate to see a defensive touchdown, I don't know that it would be super surprising just because of what they can do. So as Rams fans, we will hope that that does not happen. But we are all pretty similar, I think, in our predictions. I mean, we all picked the Rams to win. I had 23-13. Adam had 23-13. You had 24-13.
23-13.
23-13.
Yeah.
And then Jake had 23-20.
Wait,
so
we all
we'll
picked
see.
23. No, you picked 24. Okay.
I picked 24. Sorry. I was 24-13. Adam was 23-13. You were 23-20. So we're all like very much, I think, on the same page of how we see this game going down. So if it is completely not like that for whatever reason, then all of us will just have to not talk about it. But I do think that we are all on the right track. But I think that's going to do it for us, guys. We're going to watch our Rams and Steelers face off on Sunday. We'll see who's going to be bragging after the game, if it's going to be me and Jake or Adam.
We'll see. Well, I got a feeling. About it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Kraft. You can follow Jake at JK Bogan, and you can follow Adam at Renegade Adam. And guys, until next time, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.